Visualizing the topical content of speeches helps us to understand what the speech is about. The text frequency will show us the words that are being emphasized by the speaker, and it also gives us an idea about the level of emotion involved, and it also will give us an idea of the intent or the direction in which the speaker is taking the audience. So let's look at the number of speeches that have been added into this application. Um, let's We will not use the Mark Antony speech about after Caesar's death. The reason being that that particular website doesn't do justice to that particular speech by in terms of generating a word cloud, because it takes in a lot of noise in it. So let's trigger the word cloud, and while the word cloud is being generated, let's have a look at the speeches themselves and where they are from. So there is a website called American Rhetoric Top 100 Speeches. So the one that we will look at today is President Roosevelt's address to the nation after the Pearl Harbor incident, President Wilson's talk on the League of Nations, President Kennedy's address to the nation after the Cuban Missile Crisis. Another one which is very sensitive is Nathuram Godse's speech, Why I Killed Gandhi. So this particular website claims that this is the speech, and when you search for it, this has got a number of hits on it. So it has been added to this list. And another one is General Douglas MacArthur's speech, which is kind of like a farewell speech. There is an audio of that speech also, if you would like to hear it. Let's have a look at the word clouds since it is finished. So the first one is from General MacArthur, Duty, Honor, Country speech. It is famously known as that one. So we can see that there is emphasis on courage, worlds, war, the core, honor, H is missing. Again, as a profession, he is a military guy, and history, dripping, so let's not military people, about winning. So it is mostly he's emphasizing on the qualities and the things that he can recollect in terms of the military expedition that they have been doing, and it also looks like a recollection, which it is, and he bids farewell at the end of the speech. Let's have a look at the next one, Godse's speech. So the prime character that figures in the speech is Gandhi, and of course there is Pakistan and India, the two communities that were involved in the violence that followed the partition, Hindus and Muslims. Talks about freedom. There is a if you go through the text in that particular website, you will see a lot of recollection that Godse makes about the violence and the loss to life, property, and emotional scar that has left, that has been inflicted on the population. So and he also directly holds Gandhi's inaction as being responsible for that. So you will see things like death, his thoughts on Gandhi's attitude and principle of non-violence. So that shows up here, and you can see that the word betrayed catches the eye, and you have the character Jinnah, which is one of the guys who has been central figure in all this, along with Nehru. There was Nehru in this word cloud. Just yes, here he is. So see that it is being that name Nehru is being emphasized in almost the same way as Jinnah in this particular speech. So And let's see, there is nationalism killed. So again, a lot of things about death and loss of property. And there is also the word life that is being emphasized here. And there is a religion, there is talk on wickedness. Um, so betrayed, destroyed. You can see the words themselves show that this is uh, mostly about the partition and the things that that took place after it. So infallibility, live, um, theocratic. So there is also an accusation if you go through the speech that Gandhi he thinks that Gandhi was becoming more and more kind of uh, doing things that he thinks that is right and um, self-proclaimed sense of um, righteousness. So there is a level of accusation going on in that speech. So let's move on to another one. JFK's Cuba speech. This is reasonably short speech, but the word cloud really tells us what the intent of that particular speech is. The previous speech, it was about the reasons for doing a particular act. Here, uh, there is the emphasis on is on the entities that are causing a particular situation. So we have Cuba, Soviets, missiles, weapons considered as a threat. It's nuclear, military, and considered as offensive maybe. So this is an example of a speech which is very precise, and there is also, if you look at some of the uh, second degree words, retaliatory, um, and it is also about telling the people of what the measures that will be taken, and also an appeal as a kind of support for the same. So that's this particular speech about. It's very to the point. So let's look at the next one. JFK's Cuba speech that we already had a look at. Let's look at the Pearl Harbor address to the nation. So that is another short speech, but it is very um, to the point. Let's say that we don't know anything about the history or about the speech itself. We looked at the text and we just pushed it into the word cloud. So it is very obvious that somebody got attacked. United States, American, Japanese are involved in it, forces, and the location is the Pacific. So the word cloud immediately gives us an idea of what are the entities involved, a certain level of accuracy on the geography. It talks about war also. So this is kind of a very to the point short speech. Let's look at the next one, the League of Nations speech by President Wilson. So this speech, if you have an idea about the history of the League of Nations, um, uh, the words that are being emphasized in this speech, as you can see in the word cloud, if you look at it like world body, great people, circumstances, definite, league, time. Uh, if you go through that particular speech, it will come across as one which does not it does not bank into any particular direction, or it does not, let's say, oscillate towards one side of an argument. It is mostly coming across as a kind of uh, general context and proposal for, let's say, the League of Nations, or the concept of having a global body. And of course, the League of Nations was the predecessor of um, the current UN. So that's that particular speech. So in all these speeches, this one comes across in the word cloud as one that uh, does not have any kind of um, direction or kind of appeal to the audience to take a particular stance or direction. And this is the case specifically because the previous speeches that we looked at have a lot of words that would, let's say, trigger emotion in people. So let's say in Godse's speech, there is a lot of talk about life, death, and the impact on the society. In JFK's speech, you have the very laser focus on the threat. And if you look at General MacArthur's speech, you have the focus on the life as a soldier and his recollections and his farewell and his experience in the Corps. So that's compared to that, like this speech is coming across as kind of like very general. So those are the word clouds for speeches in this particular application. And not only speeches, this particular kind of visualization for topical content can be done for any kind of text websites and all. So the next one we can look at and analyze kind of an interesting way of looking at epics, the famous Greek epics, Iliad, Odyssey, and the Indian epic Mahabharata, and also the text for Merchant of Venice, the famous play, and also looking at the deep philosophical text in India, the Bhagavad Gita. So all this is also done in this particular application, and we will have a look at it in the next post. Thank you.